Today I'm going to be talking to you about 5 simple things to reverse erectile dysfunction. You know, when you have this condition, you try as much as possible to get the potential solutions to handle this matter. And so you do a lot of research, and man, you're going to be totally confused. Sometimes you don't know which one you should take and all that. And the biggest strategies that a lot of people find out there is managing the condition. But I ask myself the question, what about fixing it? And of course, that's why in this video I'm going to teach you 5 simple things or steps to actually reverse erectile dysfunction. So like I said, they don't really talk about it. You just Google, you find a lot of data on Cialis or Viagra, and then they tell you how you can take it to manage the condition and all that. But in this video, we're going to focus on the problem and as well as talk about the pathophysiology, the mechanism of how this condition could occur, to try to understand the root cause of this, so you can actually resolve this condition. And that's what we want to be more specific about. So many people assume that it's just low amount of testosterone and they will just need to focus on that. But the question is, there are people with normal testosterone, but yet they have erectile dysfunction. And there are people with abnormal testosterone or low testosterone and don't have erectile dysfunction at all. So why is that possible? So we realize that testosterone is part of the answer. But apart from that, there is more data that I'd like to share with you. One of the most important molecule involved in erectile dysfunction is a thing called nitric oxide. Our bodies can make it, and we can also get it from food. But apparently, nitric oxide decreases as you get older. It's at a level of 50% when you reach age 40. And nitric oxide is a major player in erections. In fact, Viagra uses certain nitric oxide pathways. And so the most likely reason for someone with erectile dysfunction has to do with the deficiency of this molecule, nitric oxide. Because the more data you have back up this theory, the more probably it's true. So nitric oxide is made by your endothelial cells, and these are cells that are inside of your artery. So nitric oxide has everything to do with helping the arteries vasodilate. In fact, it's involved in something called endothelium derived relaxin factor, that is the EDRF. So nitric oxide helps relax your arteries and it increases blood flow. And not just with erections, but also your cardiovascular system and other systems in the body. So if you have low nitric oxide, you could have asthma, for example. So it's intimately involved with the tone of the vascular system that relates to vasoconstriction and vasodilation. And nitric oxide increases oxygen release in your blood. And so if you don't have enough nitric oxide, you are going to have a hard time breathing. The 79% of people with sleep apnea have erectile dysfunction. And so that's one connection that we need to also check. Another link would be the relationship between nitric oxide and cortisol. Even as we've talked about cortisol in most of the videos we've done so far. It helps to regulate cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And it's a proven fact that the more anxiety someone has, the more cortisol. And the more stress they have, the more they are going to experience erectile dysfunction. And we need to look at this. Someone cannot get an erection when they are sympathetic dominant. When you are more parasympathetic dominant, and that's when you have low amount of stress. This is why men might have an erection while they are sleeping, because they are more parasympathetic. Now, here is another connection that's very interesting. Nitric oxide has a profound effect over testicular steroids. This means that it helps you to make testosterone. So there is a connection between nitric oxide and testosterone. Now, if you are on low nitric oxide, you are probably not going to make as much testosterone. Nitric oxide is also involved in there's a hormone called the luteinizing hormone, and that's the hormone produced by the pituitary gland. And of course, that controls the testicles and the amount of testosterone you are going to make. Nitric oxide also intimately is involved in the sleep cycles, including REM sleep. This could also be why when someone has sleeping problems like insomnia, or definitely is involved in sleep apnea, they have a greater risk of erectile dysfunction. And nitric oxide also increases insulin sensitivity. This also explains why a diabetic who always has insulin resistance usually also might have erectile dysfunction. Now let's talk about this. What does too much sugar, what does it do to your inside arteries? What it does is that it's actually going to destroy the endothelial cells, thereby decreasing the amount of nitric acid that is produced. And when the amount of nitric acid produced is decreased, what's going to happen? It could possibly bring about this condition we are talking about. So too much intake of sugar, you need to be very careful about. People that are on statin drugs usually have either lower testosterone or they are at greater risk for erectile dysfunction. This could be because statin drugs actually block cholesterol, which is a precursor for making testosterone. So the big question is, how do you increase nitric oxide? Is there a natural means whereby you can boost the production of nitric oxide in your blood? Of course, yes. And that's why we are going to be looking at it. The first thing that we need to understand is practice more of nasal breathing. That is not breathing through your mouth, but through your nose. I talked about this in one of the videos I've made when I was talking about how to overcome stress. And yeah, I will leave the link in the video's description so you can check that video also. So apparently, when you do that, you increase nitric oxide and you can also increase the release of oxygen in your blood by 20% just by breathing through your nose, because there's more resistance. And if you combine that with the number 2, so number 2, you can combine it with the first one, that is regular exercise. That is a mild exercise that you are not breathing too heavily. If you can breathe through your nose, you will then increase nitric oxide, and exercise will improve your endothelial cells in your vascular system, which will then improve nitric oxide. Now the third one is when you take more of nitrate food. So you can be taking foods that have high amounts of nitrate in it, like the beets, like the spinach and the kale, and also leafy green plants. These are very rich in nitrates that can also supply more of nitrate to your blood, and it's a very natural means or way of overcoming erectile dysfunction. And on the flip side is sugar. We talked already about sugar, that sugar found in the inside of your arteries is going to destroy the endothelial cells, and that will decrease the nitric oxide production. And so you need to also watch sugar. It's just a reminder, I've already talked about it, so you need to watch sugar. The last one has got to do with you combining all possible natural means to have a good sleep. Combine every possible natural means to have a good sleep. I've made a couple of videos on how to have a good sleep at night, and how to even lose weight when during sleep. I will leave those videos in the video's description. You can check those videos as well. So any possible means that you can put in place to actually have a good sleep is a means of you overcoming or reversing erectile dysfunction. Thank you so very much for making time to watch me on this channel. If you like this content, kindly subscribe to this channel. And you can also share your success story in your comment section. You can share this video to also help someone. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you same time. Bye-bye.